All right.
All right. I didn't really even think how to open this. We didn't even come up with a name for it.
I know, we're just like, let's just do it.
So this is the intro. Welcome to Jukebox Junkies Walking Dead edition, I guess.
For sure. For now,
Uh,
that's what we'll call it.
yes. So, hey everybody, it's Dylan here with Chelsey again. And yeah, normally we talk about Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa and Florence and the Machine and Diplo and what they're doing, but today we are talking about Rick Grimes and all his little friends.
For sure.
So throughout the course that Chelsey and I have known each other and been doing the podcast and just like talking and stuff, we've both realized that we love The Walking Dead, obviously by her a poster of Daryl back there in her shirt. And then if anybody knows me, my name is basically synonymous with Taylor Swift and The Walking Dead. So like I know everything about it inside and out, frontwards and backwards over 5 million times. So now I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's nice to have somebody that cares as much about the show as you do to like talk about it with.
Yeah. Like I have not missed an episode of The Walking Dead airing live on TV since season 3 was airing. Back.
Wow.
Yeah, because I caught up. I was 8th grade, I think. I caught up in seasons 1 and 2 and then was hooked. And I have not missed a single episode since.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. See, I tuned in season 4 live. It was hard for me to buy the hype of a zombie show at first. Like, I was like, there's no way that's any good. Like, I don't understand why people are watching it. It was a really hard concept for my brain to grasp simply because it's zombie movies. You know, it's never been a television genre before, horror as
Exactly.
hardcore as they do it, shall we say.
Yeah, and it's for me, especially back then, I was a little fucking scaredy cat. I was so scared of everything. I still kind of am, but like I love The Walking Dead now. I love American Horror Story. So like, and I can watch scary movies now, and I watch them from more of a cinematic standpoint than a oh my god, they're gonna kill me standpoint.
Right. Well, when I was growing up, I can remember being like probably as young as 6 and watching like Nightmare on Elm Street and what is Freddy's like franchise? Friday the 13th. Like I had to
Yeah.
think actual like but watching all of those because my mom grew up in that era where they
Right.
were coming out live, and I don't know, it was a big deal to her, so she passed it on to me. So I've always loved the horror genre. I don't watch as much of it anymore because my husband hates horror movies. He really hates The
Yeah.
Walking Dead, but he's a super trooper. And so, but so that's why it was so hard for me to think about a television show
Right.
strictly based around
And
one character set.
yeah. And once I started watching it and I realized that like Rick and Carol and Daryl and like a lot of the main characters, they're real people just put in this horrible circumstance. They don't have superpowers. They're just absolute regular people. And as we get into talking about specific characters, episodes, and scenes, you can see the humanity in these characters, and they're so relatable, a lot of them. And I think that's why the show resonates with so many people, because I'm like, there's a character that we'll talk about coming up in one of my lists that I see myself in so much. And that's why like that was one of the points in the show. I'm like, this is my shit. This is me. So but yeah, so me and Chelsey have both put together a list, like our 10 favorite characters or 10 least favorite characters. I put together a list of my favorite episodes. She put a list of favorite scenes.
Yeah, my
Right?
favorite scenes.
Yeah. Like I ranked all the seasons kind of in order, which is like picking between all my children.
I
Is
should
very
do
hard.
that very quickly. Like 1 through, because I haven't seen 10, so just full disclosure.
Right.
Um,
I'll do my best to say spoiler free.
it's totally cool. I don't really care. I don't
Mhm.
because anybody that knows me, and now you guys know too, Rick is my man. Rick, I was very upset when he left. I boycotted the show. I have not watched a single live episode since Rick left. I had very, very strong feelings about it, regardless of how long Andrew Lincoln had been wanting to leave or whatever the scenario was. I had very strong feelings about it personally.
Right.
um, So, but I really don't care. We can, if you have some scenes or episodes from season 10 that are your favorite, throw them out there. We'll talk about them. I'm gonna get caught up
Yes.
this
Yeah, you,
week.
you just finished season 9 today, right?
Yes.
So guys, she has the pike. Oh, I'm mirrored. Where is it? Right here. Oh, you can't see my finger. But the pike, anyway, she just watched that. So she's
Yeah.
fresh on the death of Enid and Tara. And whew, Enid and Tara.
Those were the hardest two of everybody on the pikes for me. Like
Yeah.
it was.
Well, like Tara had been around since season 4. Enid's been around since season 5. They were both major characters, like two of the biggest
Right.
characters in the show. So, and then just all of a sudden they're having a great time at this fair, and then all of a sudden, no more. But okay, so I want to get into it. I'm very anxious. Let's start with should we start with our favorite or least favorite characters?
We might as well do favorite because I feel like we're gonna have to fight over my least favorite characters list. I feel like you're probably not gonna like
Oh no. Oh no.
it.
I think I have a couple controversial ones on my least favorite list. I might have a couple controversial ones on my favorite list. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. You never know.
So let's do this. Let's go, like, you reveal your number 10, I reveal my number 10. We go back and forth.
Okay. So
So
my number 10 is Tara.
okay. Okay. Tara's a great pick. My number
Tara,
10. No, go ahead.
no, you're good. Go ahead.
So my number 10. Okay, so full disclosure, I had Rick on here. I had Rick at number 1 because he's Rick Grimes. But I decided I wanted to spotlight the other characters that aren't Rick Grimes. So I just took him off this list. So technically my number 10 is like my number 11, but I just took Rick off of it because Rick Grimes is Rick Grimes. So my number 10, I put Connie.
I kind of figured that when we were talking this morning,
Yeah.
and you were like, I love Connie. And I love Connie too, but because of the video game, like I told you.
Yeah.
But she's really awesome on the game and she's really awesome on the show. And like, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So
So go ahead with your number 9.
my number 9 is Enid.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that's just because of JSS, strictly because of that. And the fact that she was Carl's like first friend when he settled into Alexandria and stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 9 is Glenn.
okay.
Maybe a lot lower than a lot of people would expect, but still, he's on here. I love Glenn. I never had that personal connection to him as much as some of the other characters in my list. And I think that's why I probably put him lower. But I mean, out of a million characters, top 10 is still good. So
For sure.
still one of the absolute best characters of all time.
Definitely.
So
My number 8 is Carol.
oh, number 8. Okay. Same thing with Glenn, a little lower than a lot of people might expect.
Well,
But
Carol almost didn't even make the list. She is, because Morgan, I'm full disclosure, almost made the list, but almost made my least favorite list too. And Carol's kind of one of those characters for me that goes both ways.
mm-hmm.
I love her some days, but I hate her some days.
When you think about Carol's character, and we can get into her more in a little bit. When you get into her character arc, I think she has the best arc of any character in the series, but there are some things about her that can be very frustrating. When you watch season 10, you'll really see that too, because it's basically Carol's season. Carol is basically more of a main character than Michonne or than Daryl or than Rosita. Like, she is like the number 1. So
well, to me, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. She's the remaining original. Like, while Daryl is still an original, he was never meant to be here, period.
right.
So it makes sense for that to be the move that they made.
Exactly. Okay, so my number 8 is Tara. So
okay.
we both have Tara on the list. That's why you said that. I'm like,
I love Tara a lot. And she's another person who I feel like had a great character arc.
Yeah.
Like overall, she grew so much as a person and we got to grow right along with her. And she's always been,
she was always
like, a stand-up badass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
She
saying?
was always
like,
so refreshing to have on screen because she brought that humanity that, like I was talking about earlier. She was a character I always saw as very human. Like, there's some other characters in the show, like Michonne, for example. When she first came on the show, I didn't even see her as human. I saw her as like this otherworldly figure. And it's not really a bad thing because Michonne, as we'll get into, I love, but Taro just is one of those characters that was very human for me, and I like that aspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Uh
number 7, Beth Green.
okay, number 7. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised at how low I put Beth on the totem pole myself, but if I'm really being honest, that's where she falls.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. My number 7, Enid.
Yeah.
Yep.
See?
So that's why also you said Enid. I'm like, just wait. I there's something about, maybe because I was a similar age to, like, I never saw myself in Carl really because he started the show as like a little kid, but I always saw myself a lot in like the teenager characters because that's the age we're all basically about the same age. Like, and actually, I think Caitlin Nacon, who plays Enid, is like a year younger than me, something like that. So we're very similar in age. So I've always connected more with like those younger characters just because I could see myself in them. You know what I mean? Plus,
Right.
Enid was fucking just I get so annoyed, and we can get into Enid's character more later, but she deserved much more screen time than she got for how long she was on the show. Like, Caitlin Nacon was in the opening credits, like her name was in the song and stuff, but I always felt like she didn't get the spotlight she always deserved, and that made me sad.
Yeah, that's the thing with this show. The rest of my list, besides one person, is men. And
Yeah.
it's a very male-centric show.
And I think
That's
it's funny, in the beginning of the series, I think they did a really bad job with a lot of their female characters, like Lori, Andrea. Carol was fine in the beginning parts of the series, but she also wasn't one of the major characters at the beginning. So I feel like a lot of the female characters weren't very well done. But I think as the show went on, their females got so good. You get Tara, Rosita, Beth, Maggie, Michonne, that are some of my favorite
Well,
characters.
just take Beth, like you said, take her season 2 versus her season 5. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
totally different character.
Completely different character. So, you know,
Yeah.
guess we'll move on to number 6, which is Andrea.
What? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You
Yeah, so
know,
my top 5 are all men.
that and Andrea. Okay, a lot of people hate Andrea.
I know.
I'm not an Andrea hater. I There are times I get really annoyed with her character, but I feel like a lot of the things she did make sense, and she gets a lot of unwarranted hate.
My love for Andrea comes from her pointing that gun in Rick's face and him being like, look, if you're going to do that to somebody next time, turn the safety off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and from that moment, I wish we had got to see more of that dynamic between the two of them, because that's really what it is in the comic book. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Andrea because of that moment, but then I started to read the comics, and then I realized she plays a much bigger role there than they ever allowed Laurie Holden to hold
Yeah.
in the series, period.
Yeah. And I know a lot of little off topic, but there was a lot of behind the scenes drama going on in season 3 during the production. Like, they were writing episodes and then like immediately like filming them, and while they were filming them, they changed a bunch of stuff, and that's normal, but like it was really bad. And they like just kind of were throwing random things in. It was like very unplanned season 3. And then the showrunner got fired right after that. And Andrea wasn't supposed to die. Like, she was one of those characters they said you'll be on the show for a very long time. It was really just out of nowhere. They did it for shock value, and that's not right, because as you just said, in the comic books, she would have just died on the show if they followed the comics, like in season 10.
Like now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she'd be dying right
So,
now. Right now.
you know, and I feel like Andrea was another character that in the beginning she was very annoying, like, but you got to understand these people are 6 weeks into the apocalypse when
Yeah.
we first meet them too. So it's like trying to balance a new normal, just like we all had to learn going through quarantine.
Right,
Know?
right.
So like 6 weeks isn't a lot of time to adjust and break yourself from the old habits you had. But I feel like when she died, she had moved away from that annoying person.
Yeah. All right. So my number 6 is Herschel.
Yeah, Herschel.
I loved Herschel. Herschel for a long time, I was putting it like when I would think about this list, I'd have him like top 3. since he's been gone for so long, he's kind of fallen down a little bit. But Herschel is one of the best characters by far, whether he's on your list or not. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any reason for anyone to dislike Herschel.
Rest in peace, Scott Wilson.
Yeah. R.I.P. All right,
So
top five.
top five. Yeah. My number 5 is Shane.
Wow, Andrea and Shane on the list. Okay. Shane, I'm not a Shane hater either. Like a lot of people are.
Yes, I know. Everybody hates Shane. That's why I was so nervous to say it. I've been getting slack in my own household for this decision. Okay.
Yeah.
But I love Shane. I like to see him go from Shane to in Shane. That's what I call it. When he shaves his hair off and he goes insane. Like,
yeah. Shane was one of those characters you weren't really supposed to love him. You were supposed to. And we watched his whole mental state deteriorate. Basically, it started really when they were when Rick came back. Obviously, is kind of when it started. But then he like tried to rape Lori and the CDC, and then it just went downhill from there at the farm.
Yeah, completely downhill.
But when I look at the actor John Bernthal did such a fantastic job. And I don't have Shane on my list, but he was one of the final ones I cut just because the 2 seasons he was there, he was incredible. Yeah.
He was it was like Rick's the angel and Shane's the devil, and it was like the yin and yang of the show, and I loved how it worked. I loved that he was fully committed to playing the bad guy, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it took. It took somebody just ready to take it off the cuff and like, yeah, I'm the bad guy, so what?
And I'd love to see like a version of this show where Shane kills Rick in that field instead, and Shane goes on. I would love to see that. I'm not sure how long the group would survive, and I think it would have deteriorated. I think people like Daryl and Carol, or like maybe not Glenn, but I think a lot of them would have left Shane, or like Shane would have just kind of abandoned them because they probably would have been more villains instead of heroes.
Yeah.
But also there's that argument that Rick kind of became more evil than Shane ever thought of being eventually by like season 5. So
debatable.
Right. So my number 5 is Negan.
Okay. See, Negan's on my honorable mentions list along with T-Dog and Tyrese and Merle. My biggest problem with Negan is to me, Jeffrey Dean Morgan doesn't fit the image that I had for Negan on screen. He does an excellent job portraying like his attitude and whatnot, but like physically, he just doesn't look like Negan to me.
That's fair.
And I don't hate him for anything. Like I don't hate him for bashing Glenn's head in. I don't hate him for anything, but I just don't physically. He doesn't.
And I will say Negan wasn't on this list at all. Wouldn't have been on this list at all until season 10. Season 10, Negan is the highlight of the show for me.
That's when he shines, probably.
Yeah. So after you watch season 10, you'll probably see why I put him on here. Because I don't know if you know this, for the season finale of season 10 that just came out last week, 2 weeks ago, was Here's Negan, and they did the Negan backstory. They had Negan's wife in real life play Lucille, and they did the big backstory and stuff, and it was so good. You find out Laura. You know who I'm talking about when I say Laura from the show?
Yes, from Fear the Walking Dead.
No. She's one of the saviors.
I don't know, Laura.
She's the one with like that barcode. Yeah, she's the one with like the barcode tattoo on her neck.
Okay, I feel like I remember the barcode tattoo.
Yeah, she's the one that like rats Dwight out as being a mole. She's blonde. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But she plays a bigger role in season 10. She was like on the council at Alexandria and stuff. But she's one of like the saviors that has gone to the good
converted
side.
Or whatever.
And you find out like she was the original, the first savior. She's the one that gave Negan Lucille like the bat and everything. So it's kind of cool. Very off topic, but
no, it's very relatable though, because as I started at season 1, episode 1 yesterday, just kind of like getting my thoughts together and thinking about what I wanted to put on all these lists. And I was noticing so many things that just even things that they were talking about that would show back up in a later theme, and everything matters.
Yeah.
And that's what you're pointing to, like everything in this show, every detail. And I think that's another thing besides just the humanity of it. It's the connectedness. It's
Yeah.
having to pay attention to everything you watch, so you know what's really going
Right.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So we're a
We're
little off
number
topic.
4.
We're number 4. So the rest of these were really hard for me to decide on placement, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Number 4 is Daryl Dixon.
Okay. Okay. Daryl at number 4. That's not, I mean, that's not too low. That's not horrible. Daryl's
Yeah,
Daryl. He's going to be on every single person's list.
considering how many Daryl Dixon shirts I went through before I found this Rick Grimes shirt, he probably should have been higher.
Maybe.
I still Daryl.
My number 4 is Carol. So,
Yeah, see, so
because I love going back and watching like seasons like 1, 2, and 3 and seeing her then and like thinking about how Carol is now. Like basically in season 10, you'll see it's like Carol versus Alpha, and it's so cool and so well done. Yeah. The whole season's Carol versus Alpha. Like Alpha, as you'll see, is like the equivalent to Carol, just on the other side. And
yeah.
I love how they did that, which you'll see. So, okay, number 3.
Herschel.
Okay, I was hoping Herschel was going to be on your list.
Yeah, Herschel is my number 3.
Awesome. You're talking baby Herschel, right? Maggie's son.
Oh, definitely not. Sorry.
uh,
Glenn baby or not, no.
Glenn baby. My number 3 is Daryl. So, all right.
So it's neck and neck. My number 2 is Glenn.
Oh, okay. Incredible. My number 2 is Michonne.
All right. Well, my number 1 is the man himself.
Right, Grimes.
Grimes.
Wow, I just realized you don't have Michonne on your list.
I don't have Michonne on my list. She doesn't make my least favorites list either, but she definitely doesn't make my favorites list.
Wow. I'll have to pick your brain. So my number 1, very controversial, is Beth.
But I love that Beth is your number 1.
Yeah.
I should have had more kahunas and put her as my number 1, but Rick is the reason. He looks like my father a little bit, Andrew Lincoln. And so to me, like when I was watching the first episode, I was like, dang, this dude looks like my dad, and he's supposed to kill zombies, and then he does kill zombies. And so, yeah, Andrew Lincoln is the reason I watched the show. Like, he's the reason I ever tuned in, period. He's the reason I kept watching, like, is what it is.
Yeah, and like the reason I love Beth so much, because in the grand scheme of the show, she honestly, I mean, she's been gone for half the series at this point. But her and I were about the same age. She was, I think, in the show technically a little older than me, but she loves music. I love music. She grew up on a farm. I grew up on a farm, and kind of the more thing, like people always told her she was weak. She couldn't do it. She has to people need to protect her. For a long time growing up, people said similar kind of things to me that I don't know if it was like a gay thing or a just I wasn't built very big, but people always said I was weak. It was just a thing. So then I saw her get tougher, and I was like, I could be tougher. So I don't know. I just love everything about her. And Emily Kinney is just an amazing actress, period. So
yes, she's an amazing actress. She's an amazing singer-songwriter. She's an amazing person.
I've watched, I think, every single thing she's done. At least as far as I know. Anytime I find out she's in something, I'm like, well, I'm watching that.
Right.
So
for sure. So
one thing I realized as we were both going through our list, neither of us have Maggie on our list. And that's probably a crime. Because like,
it's not a crime. I have Maggie on a list. It's just not the list you wanted her on.
Oh shit. Because a lot of people, like when you think of like the most important characters in the show, because neither of us said Carl either. It's Rick, Daryl, Glenn, Maggie, Carl, Michonne, and Carol. Like I think most people, if they were putting together a list, they'd have at least those 7 characters on, and then maybe
I
then
agree.
then you throw in like a Negan or maybe a Rosita or a Tara, and then that's it. That's crazy. Neither of us had Maggie or Carl.
And that is nothing personal to Chandler Riggs. I love you. I support you. Lauren Cohan may or may not be personal.
Oh no.
I don't know, but I feel like the time that Carl was on the show, they did a terrible, terrible job
I
letting him
agree.
shine. Chandler's an amazing actor. He could have done so much more with the character, and then
And
it all fell out of our hands
I will
completely.
say I will never understand the decision to kill Carl ever in a million years. That decision still boggles my brain today, especially if they had the inkling, which I'm sure they did at that point, that Rick was leaving. So like if I was writing the show, I'd be like, okay, Rick's leaving, but we still have his son. Make Carl the main character, and then it doesn't seem as empty because it makes sense. You know what I mean? But after Rick leaves, you don't have Carl, you don't have Rick, which what the show is those are the two baseline characters. Rick
Yeah,
and
that's the
Carl.
show.
Yeah,
Him trying to find his son. That's it.
period. And so and then I think that leads to Enid being killed off because you have so every character in a show, whether it's Walking Dead or Game of Thrones or any show, movie, whatever, you have your main character, which for 9 seasons was Rick Grimes. And then every other character on the show, they have to support that character in a way. So they can do something that that character can't, and that's why they're there. So like Daryl is a great tracker. Michonne, I mean, she eventually becomes a love interest, but she's a great samurai. You have all these characters. Carol can do the hard emotional things that Rick can't. So every character kind of has like the supporting characters. Well, then in Walking Dead, after a while, you have like Daryl, Michonne, Carol, Carl, Glenn, Maggie. They get like their own supporting characters in a way too. And Enid was a supporting character for both Maggie and Carl. She was very much a part of both their stories. But when you kill off Carl and then Maggie leaves the show, it leaves her character, no matter how good or how much potential the character could have. Same thing with Jesus. There's no real point for those characters anymore, and they get killed off. So, sorry, that's my little rant, but
No, it's okay. I understand because there's no plausible reason why they should have gotten rid of Chandler. None,
yeah,
none at all. And if it's his parents, boot him out. If
yeah,
it's a contractual issue, fix it, mitigate it. You know what I'm
exactly,
saying? Like there
and
is nothing. AMC had plenty of money, so it
yeah,
couldn't have been a money issue. Just pay the man what he's worth. You know.
exactly. Chandler Riggs should have been making the same amount of money as at least Norman Reedus, Denai Guerrera, Melissa McBride, Stephen Yeun, Lauren Cohan. They should all be making basically about the same. They're all like they're the ones that carry the show. So like and I guess I'd throw Jeffrey Dean Morgan in there too, I think, at this point.
He at this point he is very much a central. People love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So
Like, have you finished all the comic books?
no, I have like probably the last 50 issues left.
Okay. Then I
So
won't
it's like the
say,
last compendium.
gotcha. Okay. Then I won't say what I was going to say about the last issue, but it had to
Yeah.
do with Carl and Enid. So but I won't say anything.
I like I've read some spoilers and stuff, so I sort of kind of know, but I don't. I'm gonna read it, and then I'm gonna catch up on season 10, and then next week will be full ball rolling.
Perfect. Because all I'm saying is The Walking Dead should have ended with Carl and Enid getting married and having a baby. That's how
Right.
they should have been like the king and queen, basically. And so it irritates me that they're both dead. But
Yeah. So let's
anyway,
get into this juicy because I'm ready now that we have like gotten some of our angst out that we have towards the show. We can have some angst towards the show's characters.
yes.
On my least favorite characters list, coming in at number 10 is the governor.
Yes. Okay.
um
I completely agree. And a lot of times I'm not one to just hate a villain because they're a villain. Like Alpha could have easily made my favorites list. Negan was on my favorites list. But the governor, he was just so unlikable. At least like Negan and Alpha have likable qualities. There was nothing likable about the governor.
Nothing.
And that he was supposed to be that way. So like the character, he's a great villain, but at the same time, you think of him and you want to just die. So my number
Yeah.
10, a lot of people might agree, a lot of people might disagree, and this isn't this character all the time. This character is still on the show. It's Eugene.
I agree. I agree. Not a scientist. MFer is what he is.
my thing with Eugene is I've had such a love-hate relationship with him. I love a lot of his one-liners. I think he's a hilarious character sometimes. Like he brings a lot of comedy to it, and he's very important, I think, to the show because he's so smart. Like he can do so much. But like throughout like the Negan arc, especially season 7 and 8, when he was like a savior and like to the point where he was like ready to kill Rosita and like he just did not give two shits. I was like rooting for him to die. And that makes me sad because I think Josh McDermott's awesome. But
once again, nothing personal.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So here's another one that people probably aren't gonna like. Coming in at my number 9 least favorite is Ezekiel.
You know, Ezekiel's another one of those characters like Eugene. I don't like the facades they put on in the character. Like, I mean, Ezekiel's a character, but he's like trying to play like this royalty character, and it just annoys me.
That has never flown with me, not in the comic, not on the show. And then he wants to tell Daryl that he has to leave and go to Alexandria. He can't stay at the hilltop. Who do you think you are?
Oh yeah, you have that fresh in your mind, don't you?
Yeah, like who do you think you are, sir?
Yeah. Yeah, Ezekiel, and I will tell you, he's not a huge player in season 10. Like he's a part of it, obviously, but they lost the kingdom and he's kind of just in flux.
Well, that's because his head was supposed to be on a stake and they decided to keep him around for whatever stupid reason.
Exactly. And I think a little bit later, I think I have the calm before as one of my favorite characters, which was the Pike episode. I think we should get into who should have been on there instead of maybe Kara and Nid. But because I've put together such a thing in my head. But a whole storyline, I've put together a whole storyline together in my head. But my number 9 is Morgan.
Okay, see, we touched earlier how he could easily be on either of mine.
And like, if we're talking just Morgan on The Walking Dead, he drove me crazy. The reason he's probably not number 1 is because he's really good on Fear the Walking Dead, and I really enjoy his character there. Now, it was up and down for a minute, but
I agree. He does really fit into the Fear storyline better. But the whole like Clear is one of my favorite episodes ever. I love that episode. But to see him let himself go so crazy like that, and then he was killing everything, and then he was killing nothing, and then he's feeling sorry for himself, and he's always feeling sorry for himself.
Yeah,
that was my biggest thing. Was like, come on, Morgan, dude, you are still alive. You have done found Rick again. Like, why are you just?
And it drove me crazy that he couldn't. I understand it was kind of the point of his character that he was crazy. He was not reliable. He couldn't figure out his moral code. I get it. I see what they were doing, and it was executed well, I think. But it was so annoying after a while when he just wouldn't kill or wanted to kill everything. It drove me crazy. But thankfully on Fear the Walking Dead now, he's finally figured out how to
manage
it. Like equalize it. Basically, he doesn't kill unless he has to, but he will chop your head off if he needs to. So Morgan on Fear the Walking Dead would never be on this list, but Morgan on Just the Walking Dead, 100%, especially season 6. Oh my god. But okay, who is your number 8?
Alpha.
Okay.
I don't like her in the comic. I don't like her on the show. I don't like that fake country accent that she does. I just don't like it. I don't like it. Who decides that it's okay to sew themselves into zombie skin? And then who decides that, hey, maybe that's how we live, is we follow the lady who's sewing us up in zombie skins?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I I think Alpha is the best villain they've had, as in she was so evil and so fearsome. And like, how does she just murder? How many people are on the pike? 10, 11, something like that?
Something like that,
But
yeah.
like, Enid's young, Henry's young, Rodney and Addie were young. Tammy's an old lady. Like, how can you just decapitate all these people and be okay with it? And like, who knows the amount of other people she's murdered? But
And then
like,
say, this is your line and you're not going past it.
yeah, like who does she think she is?
Another one of those, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because see, we don't have this man now
Mhm.
at this point in time. And I don't know, it's just I really didn't like her already. And then I saw it played out on screen, and I really don't like her there either.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. But I think she was such a well executed character. And maybe because I've seen season 10 too, so I've seen like her whole arc and stuff.
right.
Um, I think Samantha Morton did such a great job that sometimes when an actor does such a good job, even if the character is shit, I can forgive him a little bit.
You can get behind it.
Yeah, 'cause even if they kill Tara and Enid.
Oh,
But
so
okay, so my number 8 is Magna,
okay.
because things she does in season 10 make me want her to get her head chopped off.
She seems really shisty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's more shisty than she needs to. Because like, I love Connie, I love Kelly, I love Yumiko, I like Luke. I cannot get behind Magna. She drives me up the fucking wall. She's a character I can't wait to see die. Can't wait. Because
Okay.
she's the only other. It's just Magna and Eugene that I have on the list that are still on the show today. The rest of them are already killed. But
Oh, well, okay. So my number 7 is Sadiq. And that's because it's his fault that Carl is dead.
yeah, Sadiq almost made my list.
I mean, and he seems, even now, even when I just watched him say that speech about how she sent me back to tell you the story, and um even now though, he doesn't seem as grateful for what Carl literally gave his life for you to have.
My only rebuttal to that is Carl did die like 7 years ago in their time. So
I don't care.
I know, so but like, even though if it was like 6 months, a year, even like 2 years after Carl died, I'd be much more with you on that. But since Carl's been dead for so long, sorry, it's probably not really something in the front of his brain anymore. But no, but I completely.
But even in the immediate aftermath, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He still didn't, because I understand, now like 7 years is a long time. You start to
Yeah.
learn to live with it, and but I just feel like there was a lack of character depth
Yeah. And
on.
so one thing that does happen in season 10, I won't tell you too much, but they had said this before the season started, is Sadiq has severe PTSD from being there when specifically Enid was murdered, because they were really close. He has severe PTSD from that. And so you start sympathizing with Sadiq a lot more in season 10, and you feel
Maybe.
for him a lot more. And he is a dad in season 10, like Rosita has a baby, because there's a time jump and stuff. So like Rosita
Yeah,
has a
but
baby,
that's
and
not supposed to be his baby.
right. But
See,
uh,
I am to the point. I'm ready to talk about scenes too. So let's just, have we said your numbers? Well, no, we haven't even said your number 7.
we have not Lori Grimes.
Okay, I can get behind that one
Yeah.
too. Lori is a big loser, whichever way it is.
Yep. Don't tell Rick to kill Shane, and then when he does, say fuck you. How dare
She
you? Yeah. She was
mm,
annoying the whole time.
the whole time.
All right. Who's your season 6? Who's your number 6?
Henry, want to be Carl.
Yeah, there is that. Henry, I appreciate that they at least gave someone Carl's storyline when he was gone, after I accepted that Carl couldn't do it anymore. Ugh, Henry, that teenage angst that he had was so annoying.
He just had always been annoying anyways, because he was, even at the time when he was young and they were fighting the saviors, you know what I'm saying? he was a little kid, but he was also a kid that had grown up in that world. So you know better than to go off doing stupid things. And
Yeah.
he likes to go do stupid things.
Like it was him that had let all the savior prisoners out, like the group that Alden was in,
Yeah.
that Jesus and Tara had brought back. It was him that let them out, the reason they got free. Yeah, he just did a lot of really stupid
He
things.
was very problematic to me. And then to see him grow up and once again kind of half-assedly take over the storyline.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't know. It just,
Yeah, it was weird that he kind of became like a major character for like
overnight.
yeah, he went
Basically.
from like maybe like a C level character, just someone that you knew was important to Ezekiel, like whatever, to all of a sudden as important to the storyline as Daryl and Carol and Michonne,
Right.
whoever. Tara at that point was huge. So, but yeah, Henry not on my list, but like the pick. So my number 6 is the governor, who we already talked about. Drives me up the wall. Cheered when he died.
Yeah, for sure. Like, woohoo! Who cares?
All right, number 5.
Noah. Everybody ate Chris.
Wow, I love Noah. Why? What?
He left Beth. He left Beth, and I don't care. I don't care. You left Beth, dog, and you deserve your death in that revolving door.
I do agree that he should not, like when Beth was re-kidnapped when they were escaping the hospital, he should have gone back and tried to fight for her. But I mean, he also could barely walk, so like there is that.
Yeah, but Beth also got you out of there.
Yeah.
So you should have at least had her back just a little bit.
Yeah, and then Beth did die for him, basically.
To me, yes. To me, it is his fault that Beth died. It is not Beth's stupid fault for stabbing the lady. It is his fault because he left Beth there.
Okay, so now I'm kind of hating Noah, and I've never had that feeling before. Let's move on before I put him on my list, because I really enjoyed Noah on the show, so we're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. My number 5 is Tyrese.
Okay. Why?
He fucking Tyrese. He should be my number 1. He was this big, strong dude, right? He could kill all these walkers with his hammer. He gets surrounded and he kills all these walkers. So he's this really tough dude, right? When Carol goes off to save Terminus, like save everyone from Terminus that are in the train car, and he stays behind with Julius.
It comes back to that. You're coming back to that?
Yes.
Of all things?
He should have killed that fucking dude. What was it? Martin was his name.
Yes,
he should have killed Martin and then told Carol he killed Martin, not lied about it, not because he just let him go. Because 2 episodes later, Martin comes back, kidnaps Bob. Bob loses his leg. Bob was cool as hell. I don't care what anyone says. And then
shout out to Bob's leg.
Bobby Q. And then Sasha, his little sister, who is 100 million times tougher than he is, has to kill Martin. And that just bothered me. And then Tyrese, while Bob's on his deathbed, is saying that they need to forgive the Terminus people for everything they did. And all the way up, I wish somehow Dawn's bullet in the hospital swerved and hit Tyrese because,
I like Tyrese. I think Tyrese is one of those characters who teaches us that it's okay to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole storyline that he had with Carol, I loved it. And I loved Tyrese.
Glenn told us to be vulnerable. Morgan told us to be vulnerable. Carl did. Beth
did.
But not Tara did.
But
I'll have every reason why Tyrese is a horrible character. Keep him coming.
Let's just move on. Number 4, Father Gabriel.
Ooh, you have to watch season 10.
I still am not gonna like him. I'm just gonna be honest.
Gabriel has grown into one of my favorite characters.
There is no growing from the person that they found on a rock in the middle of the woods. There is no growing from that to me. Like he has been useless. I have no idea how he made it this long.
Yeah, season 5 and season 6, Gabriel, I hated him. But was it the middle? Yeah, it was the mid-season premiere of season 6. He convinces the rest of the Alexandrians to go out and help kill all the walkers that had came in, like when Jesse and Sam and Ron die. I don't know, and he became more of a badass, and I like that he like still wears his preacher stuff, but will like gladly murder somebody. So I don't know. He has a lot of really good stuff in season 10. I will tell you that. You might actually change your mind.
I very highly doubt I'm going to,
Give
but
him.
that's okay. We'll still, I mean, like, it's fine. A lot of stuff has happened on this show that I've had to accept, and Gabriel is one of those things. Like, apparently he's going to be here and it's going to be a thing. And like you said, he's going to keep wearing his little priest collar.
I do not like the relationship with him and Rosita though.
I don't like it either.
It's the
It's
weirdest
weird.
thing. Yeah, and like
He's old and blind.
yeah, I
Young
don't.
and blind, maybe just blind, not old. The old part gets me every time.
And they don't have like going into season 10. They don't have that much a crossover with their storyline. So there's really I'll never understand why they put the two together. It just didn't make sense to me. Well, they should have just had Rosita be with Sadiq, and it would have made
They should have
happen more tragic. I don't know. I almost said a
done a
spoiler.
lot of things differently, but right. I feel like if they were going to do anything, just leave her with Sadiq, because this whole flirting with Eugene, but not flirting with Eugene, but you're with Gabriel, but you're having Sadiq's baby, like that's crazy.
And that gets worse. And I love Rosita. Like I'm shocked she's not on my list because Rosita lights up the screen when she's on it. But there's a lot of things that are really weird about her character in season 10. But
well, because it gets weird in the comic too.
Yeah.
So
but okay, did we do what number are we even on?
I think we're on 3. Did you do your number 4? Because we've been talking about Gabriel. Yeah.
So this is my first non-main character, but still had a really big role in the show for a while. It is Ron Anderson. So he was the oldest sibling of Jesse, like Jesse's son, the one that shot Carl. Oh, that kid. I don't know what Enid ever saw in him for them to be together.
He was around and available,
Pretty much same age. But
slim pickings.
Yeah, he just everything about his character. You weren't supposed to like him. You're supposed to hate that kid. So I mean, kudos to the actor, I guess. But man, I hated him. When Michonne stabbed that sword up through his back and he died, I cheered.
You were like, yeah.
Yes, dead children. Anyway, okay.
Looking at the flowers now, Lizzie. My number 3 is Maggie.
Wow. Okay.
She's very self-absorbed, man. She is a self-absorbed character. I have issues with her. I have issues with her not looking for Beth, but being so adamant about finding Glenn. And I know that it's 2 different types of loves. I get that. But at the same time, that's your sister, dude. She's been there your whole entire life. And I'm an only child. So to me, I have this idealistic way that sibling relationships are supposed to work. Yeah. And one of the things you do is if your sibling is lost in the woods with the zombies, you go find her.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And a very easy fix, because I feel like she obviously wanted to find Beth, and they kind of explain it that she just assumed she was dead, because how I touched on earlier, everyone just said Beth was weak, and she wasn't. She just was small, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But a really easy way, like if the writers could go back, I would like if we could go back, if I could be in the writer's room at that point, I'd be like, on the signs that Maggie was making, like out of the Walker blood,
right? Just
say Glenn, Beth, go to Terminus. Like just put her name there, and that would have fixed all the problems. It's not like we don't need Maggie moping around saying we need to find Beth, but like put her on the sign and like acknowledge your sister. Like if she assumes her sister's dead, acknowledge that your sister and your dad died.
Yeah. Exactly. Don't just See, I needed at least one episode of moping. I'm not like you. I would have enjoyed the signage too, but I needed at least one episode of like her reeling everything in, and then the reunification at the hospital would have been so much better.
Yeah.
And I just and then it's not only that. She left the hilltop in its most like dire time. She just, okay, holla. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna take my kid and I'm gonna go, and I don't really care what happens to you guys. That is,
You
I don't
see,
know.
I was actually like, when Rick decided to save Negan's life, at that time, I was very team Maggie. I was like, I was like, I would want Negan dead if I were her too. And I mean, Negan's my number 5 favorite character. I love Negan, but I was totally with her. I didn't like that. It was almost sounded like she wanted to start a civil war against Rick. That kind of annoyed me. Like it was like her and Daryl versus Rick. I didn't really like that whole dynamic, but I understood it. So maybe that's why she's not on my favorites list either, but I do she's always a good character for me. But I definitely agree with everything you're pointing out.
You know, it even goes back to her calling Glenn Walker bait. Like that, you were a doo-doo head then, you're a doo-doo head now. And I don't really care for the character.
Gotcha.
I never have, honestly. I
Yeah.
didn't like how she toyed with Glenn in the beginning. Like, girl, you are the one pursuing him, and then you're gonna act the
Yeah.
way that she does towards him in the drugstore and stuff. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah. That's fair.
So
Okay, so my number 3 is Spencer. You remember
okay.
Spencer? That's Deanna's son, the one that
Yeah.
Negan slices his stomach open. He drove another one of those characters that you weren't really supposed to like him, but literally Rick gets back right after Glenn and Abraham are murdered, and Spencer has the audacity to say something to Rick um about how would Glenn feel, or how about you ask Glenn how he feels about it, or it was something along those lines. I was like, okay, yep, I can't wait for you to die, and I knew his comic death was coming up, and I was praying for it, and it happened. But he's another one Rosita was with, and I don't understand why. Like, fucking Rosita, you were such a badass, and you're so hot. Like, dude.
Right. She's so hot.
As a gay man, I can still recognize that. So hot. And I guess Spencer is really hot too, but he was a douchebag, so it takes away all of his
Yeah. He was a
attraction. I don't
major.
know, but I liked when Negan cut his stomach open. He said, "There's your guts. They were there the whole time." But anyway,
So coming in at number 2, we have Not a Scientist, Eugene.
okay. So yeah, I had a feeling he was coming up eventually.
Yeah, he's like my like probably the person I hate the most besides the person that's above him.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, I agree.
He's a
Eugene.
traitor. He's no good for anybody besides the fact that he's smart. He lied the entire time Abraham knew him. Like that is so disrespectful and on so many levels, especially at that point in time. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. And
I've
I
never
appreciate.
respected him.
I appreciate Eugene's character more than I actually enjoy seeing him on screen, just because he is so intelligent. Like in season 9, he put together that whole radio thing so they could all communicate. And I mean, he's the one that ended the Negan, or the war with Negan, like with rigging all the guns. And so he's very smart, but it doesn't really always warrant keeping the character around. You know what I mean? And he's playing a very, very vital role. His storyline is following verbatim as it was in the comic in season 10. So he's playing a very, very vital role that I appreciate more than I enjoy watching, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I can feel it.
And I don't think he'll ever be killed off, just because of how they can use him for so much when it comes to technology and being just super intelligent. So there's that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we gotta like him.
Yeah, I agree. At one point I was praying for his death. So all right. My number 2 is the one that murdered Beth herself, Dawn Lerner.
All right.
I I could go into a whole spiel about how that hospital storyline should have never happened. Actually, I have a typed out, redone storyline for season 5 that I did like a year ago when I was down with after my surgery. That I rewrote the whole storyline, how it should have gone, and how he could have got rid of that hospital storyline completely.
Yeah. It was very annoying because where did they have we're a long time into the apocalypse by this point. Like,
Yeah,
not supposed to believe this.
exactly. It was so unrealistic, and Dawn was so like if they just made it maybe darker or made Dawn more fearsome, or I don't know. I just hate that whole storyline. I think it's the worst
Yeah,
storyline in the series, but um I don't know. And then she killed Beth, and there's no forgiving that. So
for
I love
sure.
Beth. So period. Thank you, Daryl, for putting a bullet in her brain.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
And I will say, do you know I've only watched that episode once ever?
I've watched it twice. Once when it aired, and then I rewatched the entire series maybe about a year ago or so, and I watched it just because I just was watching everything.
I can't. I know how it made me feel the first time, and I will never, ever, 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 ever watch it again.
So I should have said when we were talking about Beth. So when she died, she was my absolute favorite character, obviously. I freaked out. I threw a fit. I remember Morgan, because like throughout that season, Morgan was like showing up at the ends of different episodes and stuff. Morgan showed up at the church or whatever. And it's like, I don't even care about you, Morgan. I get off my screen. I hate this show. Freaked out. I had posters, like Walking Dead posters and pictures and stuff in my room. I went up and I tore them all down. I cried the whole night. Like I was gonna quit Walking Dead. I was so mad, all because of Dawn. So, all right. Number 1.
Coming in at number 1, it's Lori the loser.
Yep. Yep. That is, I'm sure she's the majority of most people's number 1. And honestly, I probably could have put her higher on my list, but she's been gone for so long and doesn't instill the same rage in me some of the other characters do, I guess.
Well, it's like I told you, the early seasons are really like my favorite seasons.
Mhm.
I love them so much, 1 through 3 specifically. And Lori was just so awful the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Even though her death was so tragic, like how it happened, it was so sad, but I was so happy but at the same time. Like I hate that this is how you're dying, and I hate that you don't get to know your baby and stuff. Like I hate that you're getting cut open on like a prison
See,
floor.
that's another. Maggie completely botched that. She should have been. Everybody that was in the prison group at that point in time knew that Lori was about to have a baby. Y'all should have all been practicing, not just Carol.
Yeah, Carol was the only one that was prepared, and she was busy running through the tombs herself with T-Dog.
Trying to survive.
Yeah. All right. And my number 1 is, I guess, I don't know. My number 1 is Gregory from the Hilltop.
Okay, I can get behind that because he is a total.
He's so
bad.
insufferable. And the
Like,
actor, and this is personal too, the actor would come online and say so much negative stuff about the show and like his character and stuff and how his character could have grown. I'm like, no. And then he like blamed Lauren Cohan for his character being murdered because she wanted to leave the show. I'm like, dude, you know this is exactly when and how this happens in the comics, right? So like,
yeah, but the comics were thrown out the window a long time ago, so I could understand.
yeah, but I don't know. And then everything he did that was shady, like double crossing and like just calling like Maggie and Sasha and Enid and Rick or
He was
whoever
a
it was.
really nasty person.
Yeah, like I hated everything. There's exactly how the character is supposed to be. It doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah, I mean, he was a nasty person.
All right, so now that we got all that out of the way, okay, so let's talk about some of our favorite episodes and some of our favorite scenes, highlights that we have from the series. And we could touch on some of the other characters quickly too that neither of us had in our list, but like someone like Sasha, who I love, or Rosita, or Abraham, or some of these other great characters that we just haven't talked about.
Okay. So, I kind of did like a favorite scenes list. You said you did episodes, but pretty much dead already.
Hmm.
Season what?
That's
2.
season 2, episode 7, I
I should
believe.
have wrote down the seasons and episodes, but I wrote down the episode names.
There you go.
um, my big thing about that episode is that it highlights Shane's move from Shane to in Shane.
That's when the big switch like officially happens.
Yes. And it's sad because Sophia, but it's even sadder because Carol,
Yeah.
but honestly, it's one of my favorite moments of the whole, obviously because it's made my top 10 list, but Shane just opens those barn doors and then all the walkers come out and then boom, 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 and then nobody wants to kill Sophia.
I think that is not just one of the best scenes from the series, but one of the most iconic scenes ever in any TV show. Because I think that was the moment when people realized that they were serious, that this show, I think a lot of people just assumed Daryl would just find. So I keep burping. That is so annoying. I did that last week too. I think people just assumed that Daryl was going to find Sophia alive. She'd be fine. And just like in the comics, that she'd survive out Sophia survives the entirety of the comics, which is crazy. But also side note, did you know that the actors that played young Henry and old Henry are the brothers of the actress who played Sophia?
I did not.
Yeah, it's Madison Lentz, Maxon Lentz, and Matt Lentz.
Okay, well, I guess maybe that makes Henry slightly less annoying, but
yeah. Well, it kind of, I think they did that on purpose because it makes is even though like you don't inherently know it, they look similar, like they're siblings and stuff, and then having Henry also be Carol's kid, and then he also dies, and then so it's kind of a cool parallel, like something that you're not really gonna know, but then it just adds a little bit of weight to it. It's kind of cool.
yeah.
But I think Sophia's death really solidified the show in its place in history. Like I don't think it'd still be on if it didn't have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but people hate season 2. Like they hate season 2, and I don't know why. It's my favorite season.
Yeah. I don't go back to season 2 very often, but I do have fond memories of that season. Because you're building on like season 1, it was really just building on like Rick, Shane, Lori, and Carl basically. And you have the other characters there, but really you're just building those 4 because they're like your 4 original leads basically. Then season 2, you get to learn more about Glenn, more about Herschel, more about Andrea, or whoever else the fuck was there. Like T-Dog, like all the characters, Dale. You get to learn about all these other characters and get to highlight them more. And Rick and Shane, Lori, they're obviously still number 1, but you get to see all the other characters. So, and that's, yeah. So yeah, I agree. Great season. I do not have, do I have that Sophia? No, I didn't. I took that off my favorites list only because I don't go back to it very often. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, it's a fantastic episode, but I don't really go back to it. But yeah. I do have, so kind of going in like order of the ones I have, I couldn't put them in any kind of like actual order because it was hard enough putting my characters in lists, but like the episodes, when you have all of them, couldn't do it. But like since season 1, I have the episode Guts, and that is the one, it's the second episode of the series. So like Glenn and Rick cover themselves in the Walker guts and they go out through the Atlanta, which I think is again one of the best scenes ever.
I have Days Gone By from season 1, and it's just the scene where Rick rounds the corner in downtown Atlanta, and it's wall to wall zombies, and he's on a horse.
Yeah.
And we'd watched a whole hour of this television show, and we thought things were winding down, and then just kidding.
Like,
yeah, I do agree. I love the guts scene just as much because it starts raining right there at the end and it's super intense. Like it's a really good scene. Season 1 is better than people give it credit for.
Oh yeah. Well, they only had 6 episodes to really prove themselves, and they really proved themselves. Like there's not a slow episode. There's not really any flaws in season 1 really, other than and this is true with literally every single series, they were still kind of learning their footing. When like Rick and Andrea are in the store and like Andrea's looking at the necklace that she wants to get Amy for her birthday, there's walkers standing outside like the doors holding rocks trying to break it down. So like, and like walkers are running and stuff. Like you even have like the very first walker in the show, she picks up that little teddy bear, and I think that doesn't bother me, but like obviously they realized that that's not really how the walkers are, I think, as the show went on. But it's still kind of cool. So season 1 kind of has that novelty of almost like smart walkers in a way.
Yeah. It's just season 1's just, I don't know. It's great. I love the CDC scenes. I love getting to the CDC. I love everything about it.
So the other episode I have from season 1 is Vatos, which is the 4th episode.
Vatos. Yes, I love
And
Vatos.
I'm not a huge fan of like Glenn getting kidnapped by like that group on the nursing home. Like I thought that was all kind of lackluster.
Yeah, that's all kind of stupid. But
Yeah.
the fact that they were able to take care of those elderly people like they were, man.
But like what really put this episode on the list for me is you get your first major character death with Amy. Like, 'cause at that point she was on all the posters and stuff. Like everyone, she was set up to be one of the main characters. You know what I mean? And you see her die. You see Carol's husband Ed die. And it's the first time you really see a walker attack. And even though we've seen things way worse and way more brutal than that, yeah, that was just, it stuck with me. Yeah, it was one of those things that like put the show on another level.
I understand. Do you have other season 1?
No, those are the 2 I kept from season 1.
Okay, so
I
season
broke it
2,
down to
I have
twins.
What Lies Ahead as
Season,
well.
yep,
I have a
I
bunch.
also have What Lies Ahead. Yeah, that's when
Um,
Sophia goes missing. They're hiding. It's actually scary because they're hiding under the cars.
The Highway Horde, exactly. And you just said it. See, for everybody, that episode is about Sophia going missing, period. Like they face the Highway Horde and Sophia is going missing. But for me, that episode is about Dale being on top of the roof of the RV and Andrea's in the bathroom trying to put her gun back together and she can't get it. And that walker came in the RV and he stabs through the little ventilation system and throws her that screwdriver. And
which every time he drops that screwdriver, it gives me anxiety just because I'm like, you're gonna drop a screwdriver on her, like she's gonna get stabbed, it's gonna hurt, like for some reason.
But I don't know, it's just, that's what that episode is for me. It's Andrea, because she was so fresh off of trying to kill herself at the CDC and trying to deal with her sister's death and the fact that everybody she probably knows is dead, and like this new, once again, this new kind of normal that she's going to have to live. And I feel like that was a really defining moment for her character. Like, okay, I'm going to either kill these things and keep living, or I'm going to let them get me. And
Yeah,
she decided to keep living. So
yeah, yep, it was, yeah, sometimes I don't give Andrea the credit I think the character deserves in certain points. When she accidentally shot Daryl, okay, I was kind of like, fuck off, go away, you can die now. But then when scenes like that, I'm like, yeah, she was pretty cool. So
yeah.
like I have an episode on here we'll talk about in a minute that's very Andrea centric.
I guess since we're talking about, let's see, we did What Lies Ahead. Since we're talking about her shooting Daryl, my number 1 favorite scene of the entire show is from Chupacabra, when Daryl falls down and he wakes up and he has that walker chewing on his shoe.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he goes back up the ravine and then he falls back down and Merle comes and then he gets home and Andrea shoots him. Like, it's just,
ear necklace, like he has the kind of
yes,
like breakdown.
I've seen his actual ear necklace in person.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's one of my favorite things. Like, my husband was like, babe, we were at the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle and they had a horror exhibit, and he's like, come look, come look, come look. And I'm like, is it more important than Daryl's actual walker ears? Because if not, I'm gonna be right here.
Yeah.
It was definitely a Mike Myers mask or something else like that. It was not as cool.
The only other one I have from season 2 on here is the finale, Beside the Dying Fire.
Yeah.
Like, it was so cool. That was the biggest herd we had seen up to that point. You have Carl shooting Walker Shane. You have Rick and Carl realizing what was happening. They burn down the barn. You have Lori freaking out because she doesn't know where Carl or Rick or Shane or anybody is.
Another very defining moment for Andrea.
Yeah, because then you have Andrea who gets separated from the group. You have Beth who is holding on to Patricia as she dies, and T-Dog and Lori have to pull her away. You have Herschel's unlimited ammo in his gun. Like, you have Glenn and Maggie having to flee, even though they really didn't want to. Like, I don't know. That was such a cool episode. And then they all reunited in the end, and they're all asking, like, where's Andrea? Where's Shane? Where's Jimmy? Where's Patricia? And they're all like, well, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I loved it. Definitely one of my absolute favorite episodes.
So apparently that's the same episode where Rick declares this isn't a democracy anymore.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's on my list.
Yeah, that's when Rick's like, I killed my best friend for you people, for God's sakes. And Carol's like, we should leave.
I love those moments right there at Elder's Mill. I've been to Elder's Mill. It's just as beautiful in person as it is on the show. And the prison and everything was CGI'd in, so it's just like the waterfall and the little like campsite where they were.
Right.
But
that's one thing. I only live 2 hours away from Sonoy, Georgia. I want to go.
Dude, you should go. We should meet there and do a vlog or something.
Okay, we will do that this summer. I am so in.
Like, I'm serious. Yeah, like, it's awesome.
Amazing. That would be amazing. So moving into, do you have any other scenes from season 2?
I don't think so.
Okay. So season 3, I also only have 2 episodes in season 3 because I tried to cut it down to 20 episodes total throughout the whole series. So I tried to make sure I didn't have too much from one season, although there's one season I have several because it's my favorite season. But so season 3, I have The Killer Within, which is the episode where we already talked about a little bit. Lori and T-Dog both die. So tragic what happens to Lori, even though she was horrible, but it's still so sad how she died. And then T-Dog, oh, I could go on a T-Dog rant. Why kill T-Dog when you have Merle coming back? Like, is back on the show as one of the main characters. They could have had a whole storyline because T-Dog's the one that dropped the key and was basically the reason his arm was cut off.
Yeah, but I don't think he was really, at that point, it was all Rick's fault. He's the one that handcuffed him.
Yeah. You know? But I don't know, because I just feel like T-Dog and Merle, they were like kind of, their storylines were kind of interconnected. I just don't know why they didn't explore that more. Even if it had, I think they should have had them eventually like basically work together and be friends, similar like what they did with Merle and Michonne. I don't know. And then it could have given T-Dog something, and then by the end of the season they could have killed T-Dog instead of Andrea, and he could have been the big death. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it could have went a lot of ways, but
yeah. But
I have I think 2. I don't know. One of these might be from season 4. I should have wrote at least the seasons. I'm gonna do it.
What episode is it? I could probably tell you.
Save the last one. You know, that's a couple quick Shane breaths.
Yeah, so that's season 2.
That's season 2. So is it?
Mm-hmm.
They kill Otis in 2. Yeah. So C2 is my favorite season. So yeah, just Shane jumping out the window. That's one of my favorite things ever. He goes, and then he jumps and breaks his leg and leaves Otis for dead. Like, yeah. And then Otis rips out his hair and then he saves it all. But season 3 is definitely the Suicide King. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. That's the episode where they all have to escape. Woodbury is freaking out. Yeah. They're trying to leave. And the governor he walks out and he shoots that zombie in the middle of Woodbury and then walks right back inside. It doesn't say anything. Mm-hmm. And that's why that made my list. That's one of the shining moments for Andrea, where she's kind of like taking leadership of the community. Obviously, it doesn't really go well and doesn't last long, but yeah,
That's a great scene. Um,
Is.
and that's the scene where Daryl decides to leave with Merle, or this episode Daryl decides to leave with Merle too, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a good episode.
Yeah.
I like it. So another one that I have from season 3 is the episode Prey, which is episode 14 of season 3. That is the episode. Basically, it's the Andrea Governor episode where Andrea leaves. Like she tells Tyrese and Sasha, "I'm leaving. You should too." And then she just tries to make it to the prison on foot. And then by the time she makes it there, the governor catches her and kidnaps her and takes her back.
Yeah, that was super intense. Now that I think about it, he's chasing her on his truck and everything.
Yeah, and then they're in that warehouse, and they're like
Wow.
almost like cat and mouse. And she
Mhm.
wins, and he should have died there.
He really should have, but Andrea, see, I understand why people hate her, but they just didn't let her grow into the person she was supposed to be, you guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she was supposed to be. Andrea's storyline eventually got mixed into a little bit of Sasha, a little bit of Michonne, and then Michonne's storyline got given to Carol. It was all messed up, but
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, Andrea should have been the Michonne that we actually got. You know what I mean? Aside from Michonne being Michonne, Michonne should have been different. Well, Michonne would have been Carol. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like it's
But it all worked out. Like I love what they did with Michonne, but obviously she's my second favorite character. But what else do you have from season 3?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Because I only have like 2 or 3 more left.
Okay, cool.
I only did 10.
Okay, well, let's finish up the scenes that you have, and then we can talk about some of the episodes that I have.
All right. So I have at number 3 on my list, I feel like it's important to know where it's placed. The day will come when you want be. And
Okay.
it's because Glenn's death. And that's another episode that I've only ever watched one time. And I'll probably only ever have watch it once in my whole life because it's hard to watch. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to process.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you compare the show to the comic and you were to put Glenn's face from the comic against his face in the television show, it looks exactly the same. And to me, I feel like this is the one time where Robert Kirkman found his kahunas and was like, you're not changing it. It's going to look like this. Y'all figure it out.
Yeah. So there is a YouTuber by the name of Dan. His channel is called Dan's Reviews, and he's a young kid. He is probably maybe a freshman in high school, so he's like a young kid. So like I don't even remember when I came across his videos. He was a little kid. And I'm like, this kid's kind of funny, like talking about The Walking Dead. He's like just his little kid. But I was constantly going back to his videos though, just because it almost like made me laugh because like, wow, this little kid. But he's actually like he's getting older now, and he is rewriting a lot of the stuff from the show. Like he rewrote all of season 7, and he actually has like talent, and he really knows his stuff. It blew my mind. But one thing that he does is he does not kill Glenn. He just has Abraham die in that, and he really changes it up and has Glenn live on. And part of me is like, I appreciate it because I would have loved to see Glenn survive forever. But part of me is like, so iconic.
It is. It's a very big part of the storyline itself. Like if things are going to play out the way that they're going to be played out, that's what everybody kept saying. Well, he's not going to kill Glenn. He's not going to kill Glenn. If Glenn was going to die, he would have died at the dumpster. No, guys, that was a test to see how upset we were all going to be because Glenn's dying. Like Glenn is dying. He's dying, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if he's going to die, it better look like it did in the comic book. And that's going to be gory. Like, I don't even know that they should put that on national television, but they did.
I just don't think in that episode they should have killed both Glenn and Abraham. I think
that was a disgrace. Like, just.
I think they should have had. I don't know when they could have killed Abraham. Maybe just let him survive. I don't know, because he would have been cool to have throughout the whole war. Maybe kill him way later than he should have, like way later than he did. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it was just too much for people seeing two heads bashed in like that by characters we love, because a lot of people stopped watching after that episode.
Then, yeah.
My entire family, my parents, my sisters, my sister-in-law, all stopped watching that during that episode.
Well, I just knew we had to make it to the other side. And I was like,
Yeah.
fine, I'll never have to watch it again.
hmm
I had some anxiety about watching it the night it came on, but I mean, by that point I was invested, like I had to.
I remember that whole summer, that cliffhanger when you don't know who he killed.
But we all knew who he killed.
Yeah, well, I had predicted it was going to be Abraham. I thought they wouldn't do Glenn, because if they were going to do Glenn, they would have just showed it. So like part of me was like, they're not going to do Glenn. They're actually going to let him survive. So, but my prediction was Abraham. But I remember that whole summer, people were like, okay. They like would have a case for all the characters. They were like measuring the angle that he was at and what was behind Negan, like when he was killing that person. Like there was a case, like why it was Daryl, why it was Rosita, why it was Aaron, why it was Sasha, why it was Eugene, like all the people that were in the lineup. And it ended up being Glenn and Abraham, obviously. But that whole summer, there was more hype and more talk about The Walking Dead than ever before. Because even though I think a lot of people assumed it was going to be Glenn and Abraham, or Glenn, you never really know. And it could have been Maggie. It could have been Daryl. It could have been Carl. Like, you never really know who it could have been. So,
I mean, at this point, it could have been any of them and it would have been fine. The show would have turned out just fine, apparently.
could have been Rick.
Wait, so I have Still is on here where Daryl and Beth burned down the house.
Oh, yeah, Still is on my list also.
I just like it because it's such a reminiscent episode. And it touches on a lot of things that were insinuated and sort of talked about with Daryl's parents, but not really like directly addressed. You know what I'm saying? And I liked it. I liked how their dynamic was okay until they were drunk, and then it wasn't. Like, it was a very like real life situation, even though they were in the middle of the apocalypse.
Yeah, that was the episode Beth became my favorite character. That for sure. Well, actually, there was one episode before it where she kind of started to become my favorite character. By that time, I was like, Beth is the shit. A lot of people, because I watch a lot of like different Walking Dead videos and stuff on YouTube. So there's a lot of YouTube channels that cover it. And a lot of them, if they're doing like their 10 favorite or worst, least favorite episode list, a lot of them have Still as like their number one worst episode. And I'm like, the only reason that episode is their number one is they don't understand the point of it. It's not every single thing has to push the plot forward. This was just really a deep dive into these two characters that probably the two characters in the show that were like considered major characters, but you didn't really know too much about how their brain worked and the kind of where they were and how they were feeling.
Exactly. I feel like that episode set us up to know the Daryl Dixon that we know today. So if anything, y'all should support it because of that.
But yeah,
I mean, I feel like it's because of the Beth Daryl dynamic. People hated it. I don't know why. She wasn't supposed to be like 16, I don't think. Not in the show. In the comic, she was really young. But Daryl doesn't even exist in the comic. So who cares what his love interest is?
And I don't even know if they had a...
Right, exactly. We don't know.
I think it could have been a romantic relationship. I never really got that vibe watching it until like I saw people talking about it. I always pictured it as just like they were best friends, and after everything that they had gone through together, they had this very special bond that could have became romantic, but I don't think it was at that time. Because Maggie probably would have beat Daryl's ass.
Maggie didn't care enough at that point in time.
Yeah, Maggie was like, my sister died, guys. I'm the survivor. Like, I win. Now bring me my dude.
Right.
Are you making me a Maggie hater too? What are you doing to me?
I don't know. I it's just a thing. I don't like Maggie. I don't appreciate anything she's ever done. Like, I don't know. There's just always been so much stress around her character and like drama and stuff. And she's just not worth it to me.
That's fair.
the
That's fair.
the very last thing on my list is kind of from a more recent episode. It's Jesus fighting in the graveyard before
Ooh.
he dies. Like, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
I have that episode on here too. That was, I think, the scariest scene of the entire series. Like, there's been a lot of scary things that have happened, but these people, because assuming I knew about the comics, you knew about the comics watching it, so you knew the Whisperers, but
Right.
especially if you were going into it as someone who didn't know anything about the comics, you're just seeing like these walkers all of a sudden being able to fight, and you don't know what's happening, and it's dark, and there's just all this happening, and then one stabs Jesus. Like,
Like he
our
swung and it ducked and then it stabbed him. Like, wait a minute, the zombie ducked and then it stabbed me. Hold on.
yeah. So like, yeah, that was just incredible. It's so well done. I love like right after it when Daryl and Michonne cut the mask off and they realize it's people in the skin. But then
Yeah.
when like, so who was it? It was Daryl, Michonne, Magna, Yumiko, Aaron, Eugene. Do I have everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all just like standing there and they're getting surrounded by like these people and these.
Yeah. Michonne came up out of nowhere though
Mhm.
with the
Yeah, but that was so well done.
it
One
was
thing,
it was awesome. How
yeah,
he bounced off of the two zombies and was just like, cha, 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 cha.
yeah, and I wish, and the actor that played Jesus has been very outspoken about this, that um he didn't ask to be killed off, but he knew that the writers knew that he wouldn't be mad if he got killed off because he did all that training to be able to do all that ninja stuff. They never really had,
Used it.
yeah, they like try to think of times when he really used it. That scene when he was
On one hand, we can count. I
yeah,
mean,
when
him
he
and
fought the
Aaron, when they were at the beginning of the time jump, they were kind of practicing it a
mhm.
couple of times during the savior stuff. You know what I'm saying? But literally, like probably one hand.
Yeah. And one thing that makes me so sad is in the comics, Jesus and Aaron are like this power couple, and they're such a great couple. And I was so excited because Aaron is a character that I have no problems with Aaron, but he's always been so meh to me. There's just nothing to him.
Right.
And I wish there was, but I was finally so excited for something to do with Aaron's character and nothing. Because
Yep.
let me tell you, the amount of love I had for Tom Payne's Jesus, whew, I was in love with him. Well, I still am. He is a beautiful man. So, man. But yeah, so that's on my list. Season 9, episode 8, Evolution. Amazing. Yeah. And then the Whisper storyline is one of my favorite, if not my favorite storyline in the series. So it was like kicked it off. But let's see. So what else do I have on here? So going back to season 4, I have the episode internment, that you have all the sick people in the hospital, and it's really a Herschel's like last hurrah before he gets killed, when he's taking care of all the patients in the hospital. And then you have Maggie come in to help him, and Glenn's almost dying, and Sasha's trying to die, and you have Lizzie in there trying to die, which maybe she should have just died. But I loved Herschel throughout that whole episode, and you see him just start losing faith, because he was trying so hard. So, because I love me and you both love Herschel, so great
Yes.
Herschel episode. Um, I have then Herschel and the Governor's death episode, Too Far Gone.
Another episode that I have only watched once.
It,
Like I skip over it.
yeah, it's so hard to watch, but um, I just love the governor rolling up and them not realizing what's happening. And you have like Rick and Maggie and Beth and Sasha or whoever it was standing out there, uh, seeing all of this pull up. Then you have Tara in the back, who you can slowly see her starting to realize she's on the wrong side. And yeah, everything about that episode is great. Then you
Yeah.
think,
I mean, it's a well put together episode. Don't get me wrong. It's just I can't handle Herschel's death.
yeah,
But
it's so sad.
yeah.
Then I have 2 episodes after that. Season 4, which we'll get into, is my favorite season. And so I have a few episodes in season 4. So I have the episode Inmates, which is the one where I don't remember who it starts out with. Does it start out with Daryl and Beth? I don't know, but you see a little bit of what Daryl and Beth are doing, and then you see a little bit of what Maggie, Bob, and Sasha are doing. A little bit of Tyrese and the Lizzie and Mika. You realize that he saved Judith. And that's episode Carol returns after being kicked out.
In the burbs. I forgot about that until yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, Rick kicked Carol out in the
Yeah.
burbs. Wait a
Crazy.
minute.
And then that's also the episode where Tara basically joins our group because Glenn works with her, and then Glenn finds out Herschel's dead, and then you have Glenn pass out, and then that's the first episode with Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita. It's their iconic comic book stance with the three of them walk out, and they're three. I mean, Eugene, debatable, but three of the most iconic characters in the show, I'll say.
Yeah.
Love Abraham and Rosita. Sometimes I like Eugene. But and then I have still season 4, episode 12, which everything with Daryl and Beth I love. And then also the last one of season 4, The Grove. So that's the one where Carolyn has to kill Lizzie and Mika. It's a very Carol Tyrese. Ugh. But it's Carol, Tyrese, and the girls and Judith. And so well done. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. That might be the most iconic episode of the series. Maybe the most memorable episode.
Yeah. Definitely it makes an impact either way. You know, you can hate it, you can love it. It definitely makes an impact.
Yeah, like everybody, even if you don't watch Walking Dead, everyone knows the term "look at the flowers."
Exactly.
Everyone knows it. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, feel about it how you want to feel about it. Just look at the flowers.
Yeah, like you can say "look at the flowers" and that person knows to back off. Like,
yeah,
iconic. So then I have the premiere of season 5, No Sanctuary, where Carol goes and saves them. Even though we already kind of got into how mad I was at Tyrese in this episode, but besides that, I loved when Daryl, Glenn, Bob, and Rick are above that trough, and they see that guy that they had met when Carol got kicked out, and he gets his throat slit and his head bashed in. Intense, so intense.
yeah,
The whole episode. And then they all break out, and then they're reunited with Carol, and then Rick and Carl are reunited with Judith, Tyrese and Sasha are reunited. It was just such a good episode.
it really was.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see, I have JSS, which we'd already talked about, the Enid backstory episode, as well as the wolves attacking. And then Enid leaves, and then she ends up being able to help Glenn, but Carol is a badass, killing all the wolves.
Yeah, no doubt.
Season 6, episode 9, No Way Out, which I think I had already touched on a little bit. That's the one where all the walkers are inside Alexandria, and they all basically have to work together to kill them all. I love it. Love it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, season 6 was totally just meh for me. Like I don't
Really?
I know that there's stuff that happens and it's important, but it moves so slow the entire time that
Yeah.
I just was
I
over
really enjoy most of season 6, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm different than everybody else usually.
See, so my last one of season 6 is episode 12, Not Tomorrow Yet. That's the episode where they go into the Savior compound and they kill all the Saviors that are in there. That was the first time in the entirety of the series I'm like, so our group is now the bad guys. This is a
Right.
horrible thing to do. Because they were really only going off of what Gregory told them about this group. They didn't really know the people at the hilltop to align themselves with it. And they're just going to go and murder an entire group of people while they sleep. I was like,
And then like actually showing us them murder them in their sleep. Like
yeah.
That's another moment that I was super surprised to see on national TV.
Yeah. Like Glenn gets his first human kill here. Tara gets her first human kill. Heath, who knows that wherever the hell the Heath is, but They all get their kills. Gabriel says you have to admit, this is a pretty cool scene for Gabriel, even though you don't like him. He quotes a Bible verse and then shoots a guy. Like, there is that.
No.
Well, I like it. And then, so we have at least one episode from every season so far. Not a single one from season 7 or season 8 I put on here. I just don't like those seasons. So poorly done.
I didn't want to roll into 6, 7, and 8, but yes, 6, 7, and 8 just don't do it for me.
I don't know why they decided to structure the storylines were fine aside from like killing Carl, but like overall, the bigger story was fine. The way they did it was not. I didn't like they had like the episode where Glenn and Abraham die. And I don't know what that was. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. Well, we're gonna ignore that. Like you have, so that's like the whole episode where Negan kills Glenn and Abraham. But then I think you go right into meeting Ezekiel, and it's a total different tone, and it's so out of this world that it just really is not what you wanted to see. Then it's a whole episode of like Daryl sitting in a cell, and then it's just like a whole episode of Negan at Alexandria basically being
Right.
Rick and Rosita. So like I don't know, and I kind of lose track after that. I don't know, remember where it goes from there, but the whole thing just didn't work. And then like Glenn dies, and it's how many episodes until you see Maggie again? Well, like that's what everyone wanted to see. Like I don't know. I don't know. And
I agree.
they continued all the way. I love Tara, don't get me wrong, but when there's so much going on, did we need a whole episode just about Tara? Couldn't they have spliced that in with other things? Like I don't know, just the whole thing was just so not for me.
There was way too much time spent on Daryl doing nothing, being locked up at the Savior compound for sure. There was all that stuff with Carol wanting to go be in the woods, and just there was a lot of stuff that didn't make sense.
Yeah, Carol annoyed me in that season mainly because she didn't do anything, and Carol is probably arguably the toughest character on the show, and she's just like hanging out in this cabin for the whole season. She doesn't even know that Glenn and Abraham are dead, or I think at that time Olivia and Spencer too, until way later when Morgan decides he's crazy again and goes and tells her. Like, I don't know.
Right. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But then
quit making sense.
Exactly. And season 7 was basically like Rosita was in more episodes than Rick. Like, think about that. It was weird. I love Rosita. She was in more episodes than Rick. Literally. Crazy. But so skip those 2 seasons. I have season 9, episode 1, A New Beginning. Finally, a fresh start. It's been a couple years. Negan's in jail. And they're going to build a bridge. They're actually putting society together. The Saviors, the Hilltop, the Kingdom, Alexandria, Oceanside, the Junkyard. No, the Junkyard's gone. But Anne or Jadis or whatever. They're all working together. I just liked it. They went to Washington, D.C., which I just thought was cool to see. Then you have the death of Gregory at the end. Maggie and Daryl hang Gregory. So I liked it. And Enid gets injured and is in a wheelchair.
Almost like a side note there. Like,
yeah, it was weird. Like, she was in a wheelchair for an episode and then she was fine. Like, what was the point?
Right. See, I guess for me, that was the beginning of my countdown because I knew that Andrew Lincoln was signed on for 6 more episodes. I knew that we were about to lose him. Like, I knew these things. So all the rest of it just didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Just like, just go ahead and play it out. What's going to happen?
And I did like the first 5 episodes of season 9, Rick's final episodes. I really liked that it focused really only on Rick, Daryl, Maggie, Michonne, and Carol. Like, I'm really happy that they had Rosita was there, Tara was there, Enid was there, Jesus was there, but they weren't like super important. I liked that. Like, I liked that you get these characters that are closest to Rick really as a main focus. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, they were well done. I liked the rest of season 9 without losing Rick. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I was surprised that I even liked the rest of it, but I did.
I'm, I'm very happy you give it a chance because even though it had been like the list of characters that I've listed over and over again, like Rick, Daryl, Glenn, Maggie, Carl, Michonne, Carol. Wow, I can do that fast now. But it had already kind of become an ensemble cast at that point. But after Rick leaves, it becomes like you have, well, these three that are on my screen right now, like these three, wrong way. I'm like backwards. It's throwing me off. These three, Daryl, Michonne, Carol, really become the leads of the show, and I really like that. And like you have a lot of focus on Tara, a lot of focus on Rosita, like a lot of focus on these characters that we really liked. So I don't know, I liked it.
It's different for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess once I got over the initial fact that Rick's not coming back and you might as well get used to it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Like did I want Rick there the whole time? Absolutely. But it didn't ruin the experience for me. It was so well done. Like the storyline was so good and it was so well done that it didn't bother me as much as it would have. You know what I mean? So, so then I do have Rick's final episode on here, season 9, episode 5. I loved how it was done. If Rick was gonna go, that's exactly how I wanted him to go. And I like that he survives it. I like that they bring back Herschel, Shane, and Sasha. You see the bodies of Beth. You hear Beth, Lori, Morgan, Abraham. You hear their voices. It was very good.
It was okay. We'll give it okay for now. Ask me again in a couple of years, and maybe I'll say it was really, really good.
After the Rick movies, because like there's gonna be a trilogy of Rick movies for Rick and stuff. Maybe after all those come out, ask you again.
And we can round up his story, because to me it just left everything so open-ended for him, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Do you watch Fear the Walking Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then did you watch any of the Walking Dead World Beyond?
No.
Okay, so
But obviously I need to, from what the internet says.
Yeah. Because so what they're doing, I have like a whole prediction of kind of like what their evil plan is basically for the series. I think they're kind of building towards a like Infinity War Avengers level crossover war thing between all the shows in the movies. It really seems like it's going that way. And that would be so cool. Like Daryl and Carol are about
Morgan and Alicia fighting Daryl and Carol?
No, so the people that took Rick, they're called the CRM. They have like those 3 circle. That's where the Walking Dead World Beyond takes place. Is in those communities, and those characters are from those communities, and they are basically starting a revolution against them because they're really evil. And that group has also showed up in Fear the Walking Dead, and now they've showed up in The Walking Dead. And so Daryl and Carol are, after the series ends, they're getting their own spin-off show. And I think they're going to go out and they're going to find, I don't know if the Fear group, I don't know how it's all going to work, but I think eventually they're all going to come together and it's going to be the good guys, like the main characters from all 3 shows versus the CRM, basically. That's what I think is going to happen. We could do a whole podcast on that. But yeah, I think Rick is going to lead. I think Michonne and Daryl, Carol will meet up with Rick, and Morgan and Alicia and whoever from, you don't know the characters from World Beyond, but like Hope and Iris and Felix, they will all come together and fight the CRM. It'd be really cool. That's what I think. And I think it'll be fun. Yeah. So only a couple episodes left on this list. Which one did I just say? What comes after? Okay, so Evolution, we already talked about. That's the Jesus death episode. So scary, so much, not fun, but kind of fun. Great episode.
It is kind of fun. It's a really good episode.
Yep. And then I have the calm before. So that is the fair episode that ends with the Pikes. I can't watch that episode, but that was something just kind of like who's Negan gonna kill in that lineup. There was the same kind of hype leading up to the Pikes because everyone's like, is it gonna be Rosita and Ezekiel like it was in the comics? And I think Luke from Magna's group was also on there in the comics.
Mhm.
Like, is it gonna be them or is it gonna be someone else? And so everyone was predicting. Some people thought it would be Tara. Tara kind of felt
Tara
like,
was a front runner. I
yeah,
remember when people were talking about it.
just
So
because she had been there for forever, and it had to be someone big, and she fit the bill. But no one predicted Enid. Not like I don't think I ever saw it that she would be on there. And I don't think anyone ever predicted Henry. So it blew, I think, everybody's minds. And it
I
should,
was kind of happy to see Henry on the stage. I'm not gonna lie.
I was happy that the character was gone. I felt so bad for Carol.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sad to say that I don't feel bad for Ezekiel, but I don't. I don't feel bad for Ezekiel. I feel bad for Carol. I love Carol. I
Ezekiel didn't even seem to be phased by the fact that his son got murdered. Like, just when you see him in season 10, it's like he forgot. I don't know. It's weird. But and then
Just
one
like
episode that you haven't seen that I have on here is season 10, episode 12, Walk With Us. I won't tell you what happens in the episode, but it's a big one for Negan, a big one for Aaron, a big one for Judith. It's a great episode. Big one for Alpha and Lydia. It's really good. But those are my favorite season or my favorite episodes.
there's a lot to choose from too. It's hard to narrow down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think when I originally went through all the episodes, I think I listed like 50 that I could talk about because I love it so much. But
Yeah, I mean, I had a few more honorable mentions, but
yeah. Well, the nice thing is we're going to be doing a Walking Dead podcast every week now. So, we are planning, instead of going episode by episode and season by season, we're going to go character by character. So we haven't solidified an exact order of the characters we're going to go in, but we're going to do a highlight for every main character and kind of really deep dive into everything from their storyline to what happens to them, to our favorite things about them, or least favorite things about them. And some of them, their story is still going. Some of them, their story has ended. Most of them, their story has ended. Yeah, and we're just gonna really do a deep dive into every main character, whether we like them or not. So it should be
right.
fun. It'll keep us going for a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Today was just kind of an introduction to us and how we feel about the show, and to introduce you guys to us in a sense other than in music, because we're now in the television world.
Yes. And in this way, you won't be so shocked when she's yelling "fuck Maggie" or I'm fucking. No, I'm yelling that I hate Tyrese. Like, now you won't be shocked.
Right now, you'll definitely know what to expect.
And I
And
know
we
the
hate
internet doesn't always love people like Beth. We both love Beth, so if you come at her, we will shut you down. No
quickly.
exceptions.
Yes. So, but it's really going to be fun. It's going to be a different approach to talking about the show, I feel like.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited to dive into some of these characters.
Yes. So after next week, I don't know exactly what the order of characters will be. I'm assuming we're going to start with Rick Grimes. And then after that, we'll have to sit down and talk about an actual order, but you guys can let us know. Do you want us to kind of go in order of appearance? So should we go like Rick? I actually have the list of characters right here. I typed them up just in case. So should we go Rick, Shane, Lori, Morgan, Andrea, kind of like in that list of appearance? Or should we go in more of order of importance and like do Rick, then Daryl, then like Carol and Maggie, and like do those characters? I don't know. Maybe we can be crazy and start with Rosita. You never know.
Might as well. Since it's Rosita show nowadays, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm very excited for all of this. Like literally every character, even like characters I'm not a huge fan of, I'm very excited for. And some episodes will be like, most episodes will be one character. Like we'll do one episode on Herschel, one episode on Abraham, one episode on Jesus. But like we could do a few characters at one time. Like we could do all of the more minor characters from the Atlanta group. Like we could talk about Amy and Jim and Ed and what was that other lady's name? Jackie. Yeah.
Yeah, I always forget her name too.
Yeah. So like we could talk about them. Like we could go into some of the, once you finish season 10, some of the newer characters. Like we could do Magna, Yumiko, Connie, Kelly, and Luke all in an episode.
Yeah.
Like, and that'd be fun. Like do Jerry along with somebody else. I don't know, because Jerry's really cool, but it doesn't have that much substance to his character, but then we could still talk about him. So I don't know, but yeah. So we're going to do this every week. We haven't come up with an official name for it.
Yeah, so if you have name suggestions down below.
Because I'm not coming up with any.
Yeah, we'll have to get on the name generator and
Yes.
type in a few things.
But yes, but now as we wrap this up, I'm just happy that you guys know that we know as much about Walking Dead as we do about music, and they're the things that make our worlds go around, and we're excited to share it with you, even if 5 of you watch it. So
We love you 5.
all right, we will be back in T-3 minutes for Jukebox Junkies, where we'll be talking about Demi Lovato and probably Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa, because somehow we always come back to them. There will be a mention of Florence and the Machine, I'm sure, but other than that, this has been Jukebox Junkies Walking Dead edition. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
For sure.
Bye.